On this day in history, November 10th, Li Bian seized the throne and replaced the Wu state with the Southern Tang on November 10, 937. He usurped power from the last emperor of Wu, Yang Pu, becoming the first ruler of the newly established Southern Tang dynasty. This marked a significant shift in the political landscape of medieval China. Despite letters from Pope Innocent III forbidding it, Catholic crusaders began the siege of Zara, modern-day Zadar, Croatia, on November 10, 1202. This action, taken against a fellow Christian city, was done in defiance of the Pope's orders and threats of excommunication. The siege represented a controversial divergence from the Crusades' original goals. English colonists under James More laid siege to the Spanish settlement of St. Augustine during Queen Anne's War on November 10, 1702. This attack on the Spanish-controlled Florida territory was part of the broader colonial conflict between England and Spain in the Americas. The United States Marine Corps was officially founded at Tun Tavern in Philadelphia on November 10, 1775. Samuel Nicholas, often considered the first commandant of the Marine Corps, recruited the first Marines at this historic location. This event marked the birth of one of the U.S. military's most storied and prestigious branches. The French Convention proclaimed a goddess of reason on November 10, 1793. This symbolic act, proposed by Pierre Gaspard Chaumette, represented the de-Christianization efforts during the French Revolution and the elevation of reason over religious faith. Rufina Alfara's Cry of Independence in La Villa de los Santos, Panama, on November 10, 1821, set into motion a revolt that led to Panama's independence from Spain. This event immediately resulted in Panama becoming part of the newly formed Republic of Colombia. The passenger ship Stephen Whitney met a tragic end off the southern coast of Ireland on November 10, 1847. The vessel was wrecked in thick fog, resulting in the deaths of 92 of the 110 people on board. This disaster prompted the construction of the Fastnet Rock Lighthouse to improve maritime safety. Major Henry Wirtz, the superintendent of the infamous Andersonville prison camp, was hanged on November 10, 1865. He became one of only 3 American Civil War soldiers executed for war crimes due to the horrific conditions and high mortality rate at Andersonville. Henry Morton Stanley achieved his famous encounter on November 10, 1871. While exploring Central Africa, he located the missing explorer and missionary David Livingstone near Lake Tanganyika, greeting him with the now iconic phrase, "Dr. Livingstone, I presume." This meeting became one of the most celebrated events in the history of African exploration. The Wilmington Insurrection of 1898 marked a dark chapter in U.S. history on November 10th. It was the only known instance of a municipal government being overthrown in the United States, with white supremacists violently seizing control of the city's elected government. Fighting erupted between Indonesian nationalists and returning colonial forces in Surabaya on November 10, 1945. This event, known as Heroes' Day, is celebrated in Indonesia as a pivotal moment in their struggle for independence from the Netherlands. Direct dial coast-to-coast telephone service began in the United States on November 10, 1951. This milestone was achieved through the rollout of the North American Numbering Plan, which standardized the country's telephone numbering system. President Dwight D. Eisenhower dedicated the USMC War Memorial, also known as the Iwo Jima Memorial, in Arlington, Virginia, on November 10, 1954. This iconic statue honors the sacrifices of the U.S. Marine Corps throughout its history. The Hope Diamond was donated to the Smithsonian Institution on November 10, 1958. Renowned New York diamond merchant Harry Winston made the donation, adding the legendary gemstone to the institution's collection. National Educational Television, the predecessor to PBS, debuted the educational children's program Sesame Street on November 10, 1969. This groundbreaking show would go on to have a lasting impact on early childhood education. The unmanned Soviet lunar probe Luna 17 was launched on November 10, 1970. This mission successfully landed the Lunokhod-1 rover on the Moon, making it the first robotic rover to operate on the lunar surface. Bill Gates introduced Windows 1.0, the first version of Microsoft's iconic operating system, on November 10, 1983. This landmark release marked the beginning of Windows' rise to global dominance in the personal computer market. Germans began tearing down the Berlin Wall on November 10, 1989, a pivotal moment in the end of the Cold War. This symbolic act represented the collapse of the decades-long division between East and West Germany. The World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, was formed in Lausanne, Switzerland on November 10, 1999. This international organization was established to combat the use of performance-enhancing drugs in sports. The National Museum of the Marine Corps in Quantico, Virginia, was opened and dedicated by President George W. Bush on November 10, 2006. During the ceremony, the president announced that Marine Corporal Jason Dunham would posthumously receive the Medal of Honor. After over 5 months on Mars, NASA declared the Phoenix mission concluded on November 10, 2008, after communications with the lander were lost. This mission had provided valuable data about the Martian environment. Naval forces from North and South Korea engaged in a skirmish off Daecheong Island in the Yellow Sea on November 10, 2009. This clash was a reminder of the ongoing military tensions between the two nations. Evo Morales, the president of Bolivia, resigned on November 10, 2019, amid civil protests and a recommendation from the military. This event marked a significant political upheaval in the country. Armenia and Azerbaijan signed a ceasefire agreement on November 10, 2020, ending the Second Nagorno-Karabakh War. However, the deal prompted protests in Armenia as it ceded territory to Azerbaijan. Thank you most sincerely for your time and attention. If you found this presentation enlightening, I encourage you to share it with others, express your appreciation with a like, and consider subscribing for future content. I look forward to your company in the next installment.